There is a theory about the Bermuda Triangle. People say ships disappear there, but physics tell us that matter cannot disappear. It just changes place. So, where do we lost things go? Do they go to the bottom of the sea, or do they go somewhere else? Somewhere in between. Imagine waking up on a beach. You're alive. You are unhurt. You think you are the survivor of a tragedy. You think your story is just beginning. But what if your story already ended 30 years ago? This is the case file of David Miller, a man who survived the storm, swam to an island, and walked into the jungle. He was looking for food. Instead, he found his own grave. David was a man running away from his life. He was 34 years old. He worked in a bank in London. He hated the noise. He hated the city. He bought a sailboat named the Blue Horizon. It was a beautiful boat, 30 feet long, white paint, a strong engine. He wanted silence. He wanted to be alone with the ocean. On October 15th, he left the port. His plan was to sail across the Pacific Ocean. For the first week, everything was perfect. The sun was warm. The wind was gentle. David wrote in his logbook, "Finally, I am free. No phones, no emails, just the blue water." He didn't know that the ocean was listening. On the seventh day, the radio stopped working. All he heard was static. Then he noticed the sky. It wasn't blue anymore. It wasn't gray like rain clouds. The sky turned a sickly pale green. The ocean became flat, perfectly flat, like a mirror. And then the storm hit. This was not a normal storm. David was an experienced sailor. He knew how to handle rough water. But this water felt heavy. It felt like oil. The waves didn't break. They swallowed the boat. Lightning struck the water, but there was no thunder, just a blinding flash of light. David tried to turn the wheel. The boat wouldn't turn. He looked at his compass. The needle wasn't pointing north. It was spinning in a circle, faster and faster. Physics was breaking down. A massive wave, maybe 20 meters high, rose up in front of him. It looked like a wall of green glass. David screamed. The wall of water crashed down on the blue horizon. The mast snapped like a toothpick. The glass windows shattered. David was thrown into the freezing water. He tried to swim, but the ocean pulled him down. He held his breath. He closed his eyes. He thought, "This is it. I am dead." Then darkness. David woke up coughing. Salt water burned his throat. He was laying on white sand. The sun was beating down on his face. He touched his arms. He touched his legs. He was alive. He stood up and looked around. It was a tropical island, maybe 2 kilometers wide. In the center, there was a thick, dark jungle. "I made it," he whispered. "I survived." But very quickly, the feeling of relief turned into fear. Have you ever been in a room that is too quiet? That is how the island felt. There were palm trees, but no coconuts fell. There was wind, but the leaves didn't rustle. There were no seagulls, no crabs in the sand, no flies buzzing around his head. It was like a painting. It looked real, but it wasn't alive. David walked to the edge of the jungle. "Hello!" he shouted. His voice sounded flat. It didn't echo. The trees absorbed the sound immediately. He felt a cold shiver on his back. He felt like he was walking in a graveyard. David needed water. He walked into the dense jungle. The air was hot and humid. As he walked, he got a strange feelings. Deja vu. He felt like he knew which way to turn. Turn left at the big rock, a voice in his head said. He turned left, and there was a stream of fresh water. How did I know that? He thought. He knelt down to drink. The water was cold, but as he drank, he saw something in the mud next to the stream. A footprint, a boot footprint. David froze. Was there someone else on the island? He put his own foot next to the print. It was the exact same size. It was the exact same pattern as his sailing boots. But the print in the mud looked old. Moss was growing inside it. It looked like it was made years ago. Maybe it's just a coincidence, David told himself. He was lying to himself. That night, he slept on the beach. He had a nightmare. In the dream, he saw himself, but he was old, and he was screaming silently. Day 2. David decided to cross the island. He wanted to see if there were ships on the other side. He hiked through the vines. After 2 hours, he smelled something. It wasn't the smell of flowers on the ocean. It was the smell of rust, old, the iron smell. He pushed through a wall of leaves and stopped. His heart stopped beating for a second. In the middle of the jungle, surrounded by trees, was a boat. It wasn't in the water. It was inland. Trees had grown around it. Thick vines were wrapping the hull like snakes. The white paint was peeled off. The metal was orange and brown with rust. It looked like a ghost ship. David walked closer. He touched the metal. It crumbled under his fingers. He walked to the back of the boat to see the name. He used a stone to scrape away the green moss. The first letter, B. The second letter, L. And the third letter, U. And the next letter is E. Blue horizon. David stepped back. He couldn't breathe. "No," he said. "My bones sank yesterday. My body is new. This thing, this has been here for 50 years." But deep down, he knew the storm didn't move him through space. It moved him through time. Or maybe it trapped him in a loop. David had to know. He climbed the rusty ladder. The metal groaned under his weight. He walked onto the deck. The wood was rotten. He approached the cabin door. It was open, hanging by one hinge. He looked inside. Sitting at the navigation table, there was a figure. It was a skeleton. The clothes had rotted away years ago. Just bones and dust remained. The skeleton was sitting in the captain's chair, facing the wall. David walked in. The air smelled like death. He looked at the skeleton's left arm. Hanging loosely on the wrist bone was a silver watch. David looked at his own wrist. He was wearing the exact same silver watch. He looked closer at the skeleton's watch. The glass was cracked. The hands were stopped. Time of death. 4. David looked at his watch. It was ticking. It was 3:59. On the table, next to the bony head, was a logbook. The paper was yellow and brittle. David opened it. The handwriting was his own. He read the final entry. October 17th, or maybe 18th. I don't know anymore. I found the boat. I found the skeleton. I realized too late. I'm not the first David to come here. And I won't be the last. The storm is coming back. The sky is turning green again. The loop is resetting. If you are reading this, you are next. I'm sorry. David dropped the book. Outside the cabin window, the sky began to change. The sun disappeared. The sickly green clouds returned. The wind started to scream. David looked at his watch. The second hand moved one last time. 4. And then silence. This is the file of the blue horizon. Was it a time loop? Was it coincidence? We don't know. Because nobody ever found the island. Nobody. Except David. Over and over and over again. Thanks for watching Unfiled Archives.